Hi, it's Pasi Poutanen, I'm founder here at Nusu, and in this video I'm going to cover one of the biggest paradigm shifts you need to understand about the current real estate market in 2021. So if you're a realtor right now in the United States, in virtually any city, the problem you're most likely having is that you don't have enough listings. And when you don't have enough listings, obviously a lot of real estate agents tend to turn into lead generation services. So those might be, say, things like Zillow, Bold Leads, realtor.com, or there's virtually hundreds of others lead generation services. And the problem is, quite often when they turn to these services, what they're generating is ultimately going to be buyer leads. And with those buyer leads, obviously the problem still is that it's a low inventory situation. So a lot of realtors tend to be stuck in terms of generating a solid ROI from their marketing campaigns. So in this video, I'm going to cover one of the most important paradigm shifts in the online marketing and in the marketing that you do. So for how you can turn from the traditional real estate lead generation model to the new way of generating new clients and how to generate these clients from the listing side specifically. So let's dive right into it. So first things first, let's cover the model you're most likely in right now. So first things first, you obviously have your marketing budget. So for most realtors, it's anywhere from $1,000 to $15,000 per month that they're spending on their advertising, depending on, again, their current success, past experience, and everything like that. So right now you have the marketing budget, whether that be, say, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, or $15,000. And this marketing budget is mainly going to these lead providers. So these can be things like Zillow, realtor.com, Bold Leads, or any other service. From here, as you're generating these leads, they're taking these leads and taking them to your CRM. And from the CRM, you're typically turning them into your standard drip campaign. From this drip campaign, you're sending out automated emails. And from here, once you're getting them to your CRM, you're obviously cold calling them to trying to set an appointment with them. As you're calling these leads, quite often what happens is that in most cases, these are buyer clients. So they're looking for a home, they're looking to purchase a home. And there's a small piece of these clients that also are having a home themselves in your local area. So from these, we can also then generate listing appointments. Now, as you're generating these listing appointments, you're typically turning them into listing agreements. So as you're getting the listings themselves or you're closing the listings themselves, from here, quite often what real estate agents do is that they take these listings and post them on their social media. So quite often for most agents, their organic social media, the posts that they put out are either automated, so they're using a content creation service, or they're typically just sold, just listed, or generic posts about the real estate market. So then they post it on Facebook, platforms like LinkedIn, maybe in some cases even Instagram. And from here, as we're posting these posts to these social media platforms, quite often they're also hitting the boost button. So they're maybe spending a couple bucks here and there on advertising these just listed posts or generic posts. And quite often they realize this is not getting them results, this is not getting them solid ROIs, so they're not really scaling up their social media that way there. And for most agents, obviously the biggest way they're generating most of their clients is really through the sphere of influence. So these can be repeat clients, referrals, word of mouth, anything like that. And for these clients, quite often they might have, say, touch points, maybe mailers, maybe calls, things like that happening, even social media messages here and there, trying to generate these listing appointments from there. Now, the problem with this model is typically a threefold problem. So first of all, the marketing budget that you're spending on these lead generation service is quite often getting wasted in a sense that when you're spending money on Zillow, the cost per lead you're having can be tremendous. So as an example, with Zillow leads, quite often the leads might be costing you, say, anywhere from $100 to up to $500 per each lead that you get. Let's say you're spending $1,000 on your Zillow leads, quite often you might be getting only, say, 10 to 15 real leads from that service. And another problem is that the conversion process itself, so when you are actually getting the lead and how you're converting it into a customer, can typically be relatively inefficient in a sense that when you're sending out these standard drip campaigns that are taken from a service or taken from a company, anything like that, the open rates on them can be relatively low. So a typical open rate for a drip campaign like that can be anywhere from 5% to maximum, say, 10%. So these drip campaigns are not really getting opened, so the leads you're having are not really getting nurtured nurtured. And when you cold call these leads to set appointments, the problem is as well is that since these leads are coming from Zillow, realtor.com, or any external service, the problem is that they have no idea about who you are as a realtor, how you're different, how you're more valuable than any other agent. So because these leads are not exclusive to you, what happens is that these calls and attempts to set these appointments can be relatively hard to do and be relatively hard to make this a very profitable process that way there. So you kind of end up a little bit in a chasing situation where you have to follow up with these leads a lot, convince them a lot in order to actually get the client. And lastly, obviously, we have the way you're generating these clients. Since we are in the low inventory marketplace, even if you are spending money on these lead generation services, quite often leads you're getting are actually buyer clients. And the problem with buyer clients essentially is that since it's a low inventory market, it's hard to find them a property. And when it's time to find them a property they can buy, what that results into is that the realtor has to spend a lot of time on actually converting them into actual commission. So it might take you, anywhere from 20 to 30 hours or even more to actually serve that client and get them the actual listing. And typically, it's obviously even more than that. So essentially, the energy, the time spent, and ultimately the ROI of this overall process is relatively tough. And maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, when realtors were running this specific model, back then the costs were a lot lower, the competition was a lot lower, and the marketplace was definitely different. So right now things have switched around, and something new has came into the marketplace that wasn't there yet back 5 or 10 years ago as much. So how do you combat that where, situation is that it's a low inventory market, traditional model of generating clients is kind of like slowly dying down, and how do you go from that situation into a situation where you're running profitable marketing campaigns, you're generating listings, and you're scaling up your business to the next level? Well, what we've done for the last 3 years is that we have worked with real estate agents specifically to help them generate 5 to 20 listing appointments per month. And right now we work with over 140 real estate agents on this specific model. So we built our own model called the A.R.C methodology. And this is specifically a model for listing client generation online. Now, how this works on a practical level is that we have, first of all, your strategic personal branding strategy. So with the strategy, we're having the model itself, the model you used maybe in the past with Zillow or realtor.com, completely turned around. So now, instead of you, say, generating the lead from Zillow, realtor.com, or any of these services and giving them a call immediately, we're actually looking to nurture the leads and get them to sold into you before you even hop on a call, before you even talk with them in the first place. That way there later on, as you're hopping on a call or as you're going on a listing appointment, the leads you're talking with are already familiar with your brand. So on a practical level, to make this happen for your business, what you need to have in place is, first of all, your content strategy. Now, what a content strategy is that you ultimately need to have your own content strategy in your business. So you're able to produce that content to your social media channels. We don't want to automate the content, or we don't want to use, say, generic posts or just listed, just sold posts exclusively. The reason why is, like we discussed earlier with the traditional model, with these generic posts or automated posts, the reach is very, very small and the engagement is extremely small as well. So it's really getting realtors, in most cases, no or very little results. So that's why we want to set up your own content strategy to your business, so you're able to produce content that's going to make your organic marketing work like a clock. Now, in addition to this, we need to have your organic growth strategy. Like we discussed, a lot of realtors rely on boosting their posts or, just having very, very few reach, very, very little reach on their social media platforms. We don't want to do that because, like we discussed, in most cases, it's getting realtors very little results. So what we want to do here is to build up your organic growth and build up your organic reach on these social media platforms. Ultimately, we want to build up an audience of local homeowners who see you as the number one real estate agent, the number one choice when it comes down to selling their house. That's the situation we want to be in. So the platforms you want to use specifically for this are, first of all, your Facebook organic marketing methods. Another one is that you want to use Instagram marketing methods organically. And lastly, we have the LinkedIn platform. These are typically the 80-20 of social media marketing, meaning that you don't need to be on TikTok, you don't need to be on Instagram Reels, you don't need to be on any of these different things, or YouTube even. You don't need to be on any of them to generate listing appointments. The 80-20 of generating listing appointments is really in these different different platforms: on Facebook, on Instagram, on your LinkedIn. That's where most of your audience, the local homeowners, will be. So with these platforms, as we're building up your audience of these local homeowners, you're now generating, first of all, thousands of local homeowners who are following you on these different platforms. And second of all, you're not just generating followers, but you're really getting those followers turned from a stranger, where right now they might have no idea about who you are, what you do, your story, or anything like that, or even that you're a realtor, all the way back to a situation where they're turning into your loyal customers and referral partners. So as we're building up this audience, it's kind of like building up your sphere of influence on social media. Meaning, like we talked here earlier, most clients realtors generate are coming from the sphere of influence. Even if you look at your business right now, if you're like most real estate agents, you're getting most of your clients from your repeat clients, referrals, or word of mouth. Well, the same exact thing happens here organically on your social media, and the same exact thing we can create actually on your social media platforms. So we can build up your sphere of influence just like you have a sphere of influence right now, but maybe right now in your sphere of influence, maybe you have 100 people, maybe you have a couple hundred people, maybe a little bit more than that, but not really necessarily thousands of people who are in your sphere of influence. But on social media, we can obviously do this. We can have a sphere of influence of thousands of people without spending any more of our time, energy, or money. So as we're building up this organic audience that you're having, we're building up that sphere of influence, and to a level where, let's suppose you have anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 or more local people, local homeowners who could be buying or selling a house, or have maybe their mother, maybe they're somebody that they know from high school, anything like that, to sell their house and then refer you to be their real estate agent. So from here, we're able to build the exact same things. We're able to generate repeat clients, we're able to generate referrals, we're able to generate word of mouth from your organic social media. So something key to understand is that maybe in the past, as you run the traditional model of listing client generation, maybe the posts that you posted on your organic social media were things like just listed, just sold, or automated/generic posts. Maybe that was the case in the future. So just fear what they were seeing on their social media accounts from you were essentially these types of posts. And obviously those types of posts are not building up a relationship with them, not positioning you as an authority with them, and essentially not generating any value to them. But in the future, as we're running this new model, what your sphere is going to see is that they're going to see the strategic personal branding strategy we have developed here. So what they'll see is that they'll see the content strategy you've put out, and now what they see as well is that they'll see those posts where we now, instead of say pitching them every day, we're now building up the value, building up relationships, and putting out you as the number one person to be when it comes down to selling or buying their property. So what this results in is that you'll be now generating more repeat clients, you'll be now generating more referrals, and now you'll be also generating more word of mouth, essentially creating you again more of these listing appointments on the back end. Now, after you have gotten together your organic marketing strategy without going to your paid advertising, and with paid advertising, what we're doing really is that we're scaling up the exposure and we're scaling up the level of the reach you're getting on your social media. So once we get started with the paid advertising, we're going to start running this with a very strategic process. The problem with most realtors' paid advertising on social media is that even though it's on social media, it's still based on this traditional model of lead generation, where realtors are trying to generate, as an example, buyer leads by showing an ad for list of homes or property IDX or something like that. Well, the problem is that just like with Zillow, realtor.com, or both leads, they're still generating leads, but they're very, very low quality leads. So when the realtor calls the leads, the leads really have not necessarily have any motivation. They're maybe not qualified, or maybe the problem is that they're giving out like wrong numbers, information, or things like that, because the friction in the funnel is very, very low. So with your paid advertising, we want to do this very, very differently. First of all, what we always do with our clients is that we run these paid advertisements specifically for listing lead generation. The reason why is because every time you generate yourself a new listing lead, what that means for you as a realtor is that you know for a fact that that person is a homeowner. They own a house, and you also know that they're interested in selling that house. This is not the case with buyers. Quite often, as an example, a first-time home buyer or a people who are just generally interested into, say, looking at new properties, those people are very, very far further in terms of the sales process that they're in. And also their motivation is not necessarily maybe as high as somebody who needs to be moving within the next 3 months, within the next 6 to 12 months. So what that means for you is that as you're generating these listing leads, you're now getting a lot more higher lead quality. You're now getting a lot more higher qualification, and you're also typically getting a lot higher motivation for the house selling process itself. So now that you're running these listing lead generation ads, you're now generating listing leads. As you're generating these listing leads, the biggest problem I see with realtors, in addition to running these ads for buyers, is that a lot of real estate agents are, again, still running the traditional model of listing client conversion. So meaning that they're still generating the listing lead, then they turn them into their CRM, they're running them through a standard drip campaign, and trying to cold call to set appointments. Again, nothing wrong about that, and if you do these steps correctly, you can make this process definitely profitable even without doing anything else. The problem is that when you're running listing lead generation ads, about 10 up to 20% of these leads are selling their houses immediately. So meaning right now, or they're interested in selling it within the next, say, 1 to 3 months. So virtually immediately. Now, what that means for you as a realtor is that about 80 to 90% of these listing leads are interested in selling their house further along. Maybe that be like, say, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or 12 ago. Maybe that'd be 12 months, maybe that'd be 3 months from here, 6 months from here, even 12 months from here. What that means for you is that a lot of these listing leads, as you're starting off with the sales process, they're selling their houses later on down the road. They're not selling it right now. So if you're only relying on, as an example, cold calls to nurture these leads, to get them to sell their houses with you, obviously the problem is that when you call them 6 months from here, or when you call them 12 months from here, they're not going to remember anymore that they opted into your funnel or that they are your listing lead. They're not even going to remember who you are anymore if you're using the traditional real estate model. So because of that reason, what we want to do with your marketing campaign is to set another layer to your marketing campaign. This is a layer that we call the omnipresent social ad campaign. So what happens from a homeowner's perspective is that as you're running these listing lead generation ads, you're taking them to becoming your listing lead. So they fill out a survey to speak with you and tell you, when they're looking to sell their house, what is their property like, everything else. From here, after they become your listing leads, we're taking them to your omnipresence social media ad campaign. Now, I'm going to here in a second dive directly to one of our clients' ad account who has generated himself over 33 transactions with his ads. So see directly what is a very profitable social media campaign look like. But before that, I want you to understand is that with the traditional model, from the homeowner's perspective, when they become your lead, so either buyer lead or even a listing lead, the only thing that they're really seeing is that they're seeing the standard drip campaign, which they very rarely open, and they're only getting a cold call from the realtor to try to sell them on the appointment. So this is really the only thing that they're seeing from the real estate agent itself. In your case, as you're running the new model of A.R.C methodology, we're taking them to your omnipresence campaign on social media. So let's dive directly into one of our clients' ad accounts. So I want to show you exactly how that looks like, because omnipresence and social media is something that everybody virtually talks about out there. And a lot of people think that they have omnipresence even though they don't actually have that. So let's dive directly to one of our clients' ad accounts. So I'll show you. Now, first things first, we obviously have the listing lead generation ads. There's specific psychology, specific optimization process when it comes down to running these listing lead generation ads to make sure that you're generating these listing leads for a very, very low cost, and obviously making sure that these listing leads are the right people you want to be talking with. Now, so that you're getting actually qualified leads on this end. Now, in this video specifically, I'm not going to go too deep into that because, as you can see, there's a lot of complexity, a lot of psychology behind these ads and technology as well. So we're not going to cover this in this video and save that for the next one. But as somebody clicks on this link and they become your listing lead, this is what happens next. So like we discussed, most realtors, they only have the social media drip campaign, or So like we discussed, most realtors only have the drip campaign or the cold call that they're doing. What we do with you here is that we want to, first of all, establish a relationship with these leads that you're getting. Because as you already know, 33% of the referrals, voi vittu nyt taas. So first things first is that we want to establish a relationship with your listing leads. Now the reason why this is very, very important is because 33% of the listings, according to National Association of Realtors, go based off referrals. So that just tells you how important relationships are when it comes down to generating listing clients. So because of that reason, what we want to do here with you first is that we want to show them a community-based post. We want to show them that you're a real human being directly in their community. So as an example with Tim is a realtor in Bend, Oregon. So we created a post here about the Smith Rock. That's a local place in Central Oregon where a lot of people tend to go. It's a very beautiful place, and a lot of people will see that, will resonate with that, and engage with that post. After this, what we do is that we want to get the homeowners to really understand the problem that they're having and understand the value of working with a realtor. Like we discussed earlier with this traditional real estate model, is that a lot of the times when realtors call these leads might have absolute no idea about what the value of a realtor is, why should they work with a realtor in the first place, or about the problem that they're experiencing. So another thing we want to do with your social media omnipresence campaign is to get the homeowner to understand the problem that they're having and understand in the first place, why should they work with the real estate agent? Why should they invest into working with a real estate agent? So what we need to hear with them is that we made a post about how the home selling process can be a lot to take on. A lot of people might think that it's just about, say, putting out a post there or putting out the listing out there and just waiting for the buyers to come. But in reality, it's obviously a lot more complex problem than that, and that's why a lot of people tend to work with real estate agents over the long run to sell their property. So what we did here is we made a post about that, and we showed real life example of Tim's clients. You see people here smiling, sitting with them, again creating that situation where that's going to create a lot of trust from the homeowner's perspective after reading through his post, after seeing Tim working with his clients. Another thing we want to create is that we want to then invalidate all the possible objections people might be having. As an example, a lot of the times, people might be having a friend who's also a realtor, or they might have a relative who's also a realtor. And maybe that real estate agent is good, but maybe they're not as good as necessarily you are as a real estate agent. So what we want to do here is to differentiate you from those alternative solutions. Because at the end of the day, people could say work with a part-time realtor, people could work with a discount broker, people could work with an automated service or things like that. So the only way they're selecting you to be selling their house is that if you get them to understand that you are the best solution in terms of working in terms of selling their house. Another post we want the homeowner to see is what we call an intellectual insight post. So the thing is that quite often these homeowners might have a friend or a cousin, as an example, who's also a real estate agent. And as you know, a lot of the real estate agents out there are good, but maybe some realtors are, as an example, part-time realtors or realtors who are like newer agent. Obviously, if you as a realtor have years of experience of selling houses, maybe you've sold houses for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and maybe you have thousands of transactions behind you, obviously you want to leverage that and showcase that to the homeowner so that they really understand the difference between working with you and working with somebody else. Maybe they have a part-time realtor who's their friend. Maybe they're thinking about using a discount broker. Maybe they're thinking about, as an example, using an automated service or a software to sell their house. So we want to invalidate all of those options and get people to really understand that working with you specifically is the number one best possible option. Now, with the strategy, like we discussed, we ultimately have 13 different content types. And these content types are things that we're always updating so that the homeowner is always seeing fresh and new posts from your perspective. So obviously in this video, I'm not going to cover every single content type. That's something we can obviously cover in the program and showcase that do you dare and build this strategy for your business. But what happens here over the long run is that traditionally these leads that you're generating, they're going to a CRM, they're going to that standard drip campaign. And like we discussed, most people are not opening that drip campaign after a first week or so. And then the next touch point is really the cold call. So then realtor kind of ends up chasing after these leads. And at the end of the day, the leads don't remember the realtor, let's say after 3 months or 6 months or 12 months after becoming their lead. So the problem here is the cost per acquisition for a listing or for a client is really, really high. On average, real estate agents might be ending up paying even a couple $1,000 to $5,000 or more to generate a single client, and most of the cases, the client is going to be a buyer client. So realtors are kind of ending up in a situation where they're in a perpetual loop in terms of spending this money, generating these buyer leads, and then having to keep this thing going here. Now, there's a way out, like we discussed, is that we want to have these things built into your personal business. So as you're running these ads with the A.R.C methodology, first of all, as you're generating listing leads, you're now getting exclusive listing leads. These are people who are exclusively going to your process, your funnel. So you're not competing against, say, 5 or 10 other agents when it comes down to selling your property. After this, we're taking them to your omnipresence campaign. With this omnipresence campaign, we're nurturing these leads, we're building desire to work with you, we're building up that relationship with them, and positioning you to be the #1 realtor when it comes down to selling their house. We're building up goodwill value, and we're ultimately getting you to stay top of mind with these leads 24/7, 365 in an automated way. From here, these leads also go into your CRM, and we're also taking them to your email sequence. The difference is huge in terms of the open rates and the engagement rates between different email sequence. What we've done here is that we have our own 130-day seller-specific sequence that we're going through that's going to allow them, again, to book those appointments directly to your calendar. So the problem is that with traditional email sequences, with these standard drip campaigns, what they're actually saying are they're not really value-based emails, meaning that quite often they're extremely salesy emails. You have probably seen them where these emails are saying things like referrals the best compliment, or call me right now for all of your real estate needs, or I'm the best agent, I've sold 1,000 houses, call me right now, right? So these are very much salesy, and it's fine, it's okay, but what happens over the long run is that obviously people are not going to be opening up those emails. So we don't want to do that. With this A.R.C methodology, what we want to do here is to create a 130-day persuasive email sequence specifically for sellers. And what we want to do with this campaign is to make it a value upfront email sequence. So when people are reading through these emails, they're receiving real value, real understanding, and really genuinely feeling connected to you after reading through these emails. After we do this, we take them again to appointment setting, calls, text, or social media messages. So as you can see, as we're generating these listing leads, you're going to your omnipresence campaign, and from here, we're looking to direct them after that to book a call to your calendar. Another option is that they see your email sequence, they get a lot of value out of that, they learn more about you, build a relationship with you, and after that, book these appointments to your calendar. And lastly, again, we might have obviously a little bit of outbound marketing going out as well. Maybe as you're generating these listing leads, obviously for those people who want to sell their houses immediately, or obviously for those people who want to sell their houses maybe from 1 to 3 months from here, obviously for those people who want to give a phone call ourselves as well. So we want to do a little bit of outbound marketing, and obviously if somebody is selling their houses maybe 3 months from here or 6 months from here, we want to put them in our CRM and follow up on them. Obviously that is the case. But with this model, what we can do here is that we can generate these listing appointments in a very profitable way. The reason why is because, like we discussed, most of the listing leads are selling their houses later on. So let's say you're generating yourself, say, 100 listing leads. From there, about 10 to 20% are selling their houses immediately. So we have maybe 10 to 20 listing leads that are doing it right now today. But in addition to that, after you run these omnipresence campaigns and after you run your email sequence, you're now able to convert these listing leads at a lot higher level directly to your listing appointments. And from here, we're now generating the listing agreements, we're generating transactions, we're generating commissions themselves. So on a practical level, let's say with the traditional real estate model where you're generating these buyer leads, you're chasing them around, and the only thing homeowner really sees is kind of like generic marketing, or maybe they see a couple just listed, just sold posts or pictures of a house, right? Maybe the only thing that they see from their perspective is just that. On a practical level, when they go to this new model, They have already built out a relationship with you. They already see you as an authority in the space, and they're very, very much nurtured in terms of being your customer. So from here, when you go to a listing appointment, those people will already feel very familiar to you and will already have built out that relationship with you. So lastly, whether you're looking to grow your business from $100,000 per year to $300,000 per year, or from $300,000 per year to say $700,000 per year, what we're offering right now is free one-on-one consultations to look at your marketing and show you exactly the places that are wasting your money right now and are costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars with the listings you could generate from the marketing that you do. So if you're interested in hopping on a one-on-one call with us, it's 100% free, doesn't cost you any money. But on the call, we'll look at your marketing, analyze it, and show you exactly what things we need to do to get you to the next level. And again, to be completely transparent with you, we're not going to hard pitch you, we're not going to sell you something you don't need, anything like that. But if you're a great fit for working together with us, obviously we're happy to showcase you how the process works and how working together with us works at the end of the call. So if you're interested in getting a free one-on-one consultations on your online marketing, click the link below. The call itself is typically would be worth anywhere from $500 up to $1,000. So it's 100% free call, great value in it. Click on it and you can hop on a call with us. Thousands of people have already done the same. So click on it, hop on a call with us, and I'll talk to you soon.